So welcome back to Fearbuster. I am your host, Lauren Rosenberg, and today I have my special guest, Keith, who is going to talk to us about the fear of being left on a shelf. Hi, Keith. Thank you very much for joining us today. So, Keith, would you like to tell us
Oh
more
yeah,
about this
good to be
fear?
here. Thanks for having me on.
Good, you're welcome.
Yeah, I
Can you
guess
tell us?
it's
Yes, can you tell us more about that fear and where does it come from, or what's the worry about it, and why did you even think about that?
I get well. It's probably come about through lockdown, really, because I've been married 3 times. I've been made redundant 7 times. I've had a few issues through my life, and been living on my own for the last 4 years, and everything seemed okay until we came to lockdown, and then I suddenly found I was stuck in my first floor flat, pretty much seven days a week. I had a bit of I developed a bit of a phobia about going to the supermarket. Early on in lockdown, I found that for first couple of times I went to my local supermarket, Sainsbury's, because we weren't wearing masks in those days, and I felt everybody was just getting too close to me. And every time anybody came close to me, I was holding my breath. And so for the time I came out of the soup, the time I came out of the supermarket, I could hardly breathe, and I'd sort of get out into the car park and burst into tears. And it
was that unusual? Was that like the first time you felt that, or was it? Have you had that before?
Yeah.
Or?
Years ago, I had some. I used to get a bit of a panic attack in a really large Sainsbury's supermarket, but this was different. This was about the proximity of people being close to me, and
which is normal. It was a big unexpected. We didn't expect that suddenly we're going to be having to deal with a pandemic. So I guess
I know. Yeah, and it just felt that the other. I mean, I'm in the older age range. I've got type 2 diabetes, so I felt very vulnerable. And then I guess because I was stuck at home, I mean, I got to the stage where I wasn't going out exercising. I was only going shopping once every 10 or 12 days. So I was stuck in my flat the whole time. And I think I sort of started to feel lonely. I started to feel it hadn't bothered me before because I'd always been out and about. Been out of my flat. Yeah, and it suddenly came to me that I didn't know how long this was going to last, and if it's happened once, then the chances are it could happen again, and I didn't want to be facing that on my own again. I wanted to be, to have some company. I wanted to have somebody with me, but I felt that. Well, even now, I feel it is so difficult to try and meet somebody, to try and get to know somebody. I mean, even when you meet people in day to day, you don't know what they look like because everybody's behind a mask now.
It's true. It's true, actually. Yes, you don't even know if people are smiling or if people. It just
no.
It's really
no.
We have to. I find we have to make double the effort to. I mean, I always like to thank if I see somebody cleaning in a shopping center, I always like to say thank you, or if I'm at the cashier. But before they should see your expressions. But now I find that you have to do even more of an effort to talk to them, to really appreciate their work, because you don't see the special expression. And it is a problem also because I know I've learned sign language, and sign language is all about expressions. So if you're not hearing well, or if you're deaf, that's even a hard place to be, because it does completely hide your face in that sense. So even for you, if you want to meet someone, or it's even harder to read the expression, I guess, on somebody's face in that sense.
Yeah, and you almost end up shouting at people because you're trying to get your voice out through your face mask. You're trying to get across to them, and because everything's muffled, you tend to think they can't hear. But I don't know about you, but I've also found that there's a lot of people now. It seems even more so, are walking around with earbuds in. They're listening, and you don't know whether they're listening to music or chatting to somebody on the phone. So it's even harder to communicate
it's true.
with somebody.
I think well, a lot of the new generation are definitely walking in the street listening to music. So they can't hear you. They've got a mask on. We're getting into the winter, hats on, scarf. We don't really see each other anymore in that sense. So we're relying on our eyes. And yes, it's true. It's all about adapting, but especially you in your situation when the lockdown happened, and many people out there must have felt the same. If you were on your own, living on your own, and at the beginning we were not allowed to go out at all unless just for the shopping or just for a walk, that is really hard. I mean, we're very lucky we are in a country where we have the internet, but still it's really hard to. I mean, I was locked down with 5 kids and a busy house, so it's completely different. I was like, but and trying to sort out the internet and online schooling and lots of different things. But every situation, it's adapting, and sometimes we'd really step back, and our body and mind does suffer in that sense. You just feel really, because it's not something we expected and it's not planned, and that suddenly hits you. And so what did you do? I mean, how did you deal with it in that sense?
I'm a freelance writer, and strangely enough, I found I couldn't write because I've always done most of my writing sitting in coffee shops because I like the buzz and the noise around me.
Yeah, I understand that. Lots of people like even studying now. Lots of people just like being in a coffee shop and having that surrounding of being busy.
Yeah.
In fact, So
I found I was moving from one room to another because the sun would be in my bedroom in the morning, and so I'd go and sit in the bedroom and what have you. But I was on the internet a lot. Because I got worried that this was going to go on for an awful long time. I did start to go on various dating sites, and oh my God, what a disaster that was! It actually made me feel worse. Actually going on dating sites because pretty much everybody that I encountered on dating sites were either fake accounts or they were people that were going on dating sites to run a business, I think, because everybody was looking to try and get money out of you. I had people sent me photographs of relatives in hospital beds, saying they needed money for medical bills. And
never even thought of this.
Somebody sent me a photograph of an empty fridge saying that they needed money for groceries and things like this. It actually made me feel even worse and made me feel that the chances of meeting somebody else was zero, basically, and that for all that the internet has brought us, it's actually made things even worse in many respects. I mean, it's like the old scams that there used to be before about somebody said that they just inherited a lot of money, and I had a couple of those. I had a couple of people where they wanted to introduce me to their solicitors because they had a fortune that they'd inherited that they needed husbands in order to get. It was unbelievable. It was quite amazing how innovative some of these people were being, actually. But it
at least
didn't help me
busy.
at all.
It kept you busy in certain ways, but it made it. The worry about feeling like
I was online. I know I was online a lot, but it didn't get me anywhere at all. In fact, the net result was it sort of got me quite depressed at one point.
So it makes you fear the fear of not meeting someone that got worse in that sense.
Yeah. And of course, now we've sort of got back out and seeing people on a day-to-day basis, and I've been doing to fund the book that I'm writing. I've been doing some sort of promotional work in a department store. And although I'm now sort of meeting people on a daily basis, as we said just a while ago, you only get to see people's eyes. You can't really. It's difficult to engage with anybody. So I've got this. I think I'm coming to terms with it a little bit now. But I've got this sort of feeling that everybody. This year has turned out different for everybody.
Of course.
Holiday plans have gone out the window. I was going to move this year. I was expecting to be doing different things this Christmas, but none of us are going to be doing anything much. So all of my expectations of sort of developing and moving forward have sort of gone out the window. And on a bad day, I feel really, really dejected about it and feel that, what is the future? I don't really want to spend the rest of my life on my own. I want to be going places and sharing experiences with somebody and doing things together. But then, on better days, I think, well, okay, you're still alive. You're still, the sun comes up every day.
Which is good. Yeah.
And so something will come around the corner, and and you sort of work on that basis. I guess one of the things that I now worry about is that because I haven't been out sort of dating, meeting people for friendship or relationships or whatever for so many years now. I have doubts whether I'm actually even going to be of interest to anybody. And this is where the other thing that we spoke about, the sort of imposter syndrome bit comes in, where, as you know, I do a lot of work with business people, helping them sort of re-energize through these difficult times. And I've got lots and lots of experience, lots of knowledge. I've worked in many industries, and a lot of people sort of value what I have to say, but I don't.
I was going to say, yes, the most important thing is that you are important and you need to value yourself, and there is somebody out there, and I'm 100% sure you will meet that person one day. But yes, the whole world, the good thing, I think, in a way, it may be a little bit easy, is that everyone had to deal with this pandemic. No one, it didn't matter where you were living, how much you're earning, what age, every single person in this world had to deal with this pandemic. And we all have to adjust. But there's another way, is that there is still, definitely, we're all important. We all have some value to give to this planet in certain ways. And yes, I can understand how hard it is, in the sense that even when people are shopping now, they just want to go in and out. They don't want to stay. It's not a relaxing experience to go into a shop. You literally just go because you have to go. I've not met someone yet, or some of my friends saying, I'm just going shopping just as a sort of relaxation therapy or something. People just want to go in and out. So even that, you haven't really got the time to speak to someone, to meet someone in that sense. So you really got to push yourself and make an effort. Either, I don't know, you've been very unlucky. There may be some better genuine site, or it's just like business marketing, how you're going to meet someone. So there are lots of different groups with different interests, and that's the way of maybe doing it. But it's really important to realize and also to do some work on ourselves, that you are important, and And like you said, lots of people value your opinions and your advice. And I know that you've got great advice and you energize a lot of people. And so as you do that, you can take it back in a sense. You need to, it's like a magnet. You need to, as you give it, it's like, like playing table tennis. You just send the ball and it comes back. You need to actually literally take that and just as they feel better, and you feel it and you see it when you help those people, take it back and tune in into that energy and use it too, so that you feel empowered, and then you feel that you actually are valuable, because you are. And I believe there's always another person out there, that there is a soulmate. There is always somebody who's going to meet, but it's just sometimes we have to work on it. Sometimes we have to also change our belief that we are important, that there is that you have value and people will find that. And I think having bad experiences is like a challenge. It's what make us grow, and what we definitely know what we don't want. And having gone through so many experiences, you learn what you actually really want. So you're becoming more specific. But definitely being in a lockdown and having to stay, and that for anyone makes it worse. And some people were less lucky if you were in a flat and you didn't have a garden or somewhere to go. Some people, at least if they had a garden or a little green place where they could just go out. And I know that it's some of my friends, if you're stuck with a baby in a tiny flat, that's also was really hard. We all had different challenges, but I think the easiest way, I think, was when you're in a lockdown, is that we're all together at the same time, because no one was going out. Now everybody experiences different things. Some people are isolated, some people can go out, some people, so it's a bit harder in certain ways, because we're not all in the same, doing the same thing. But do you think that this fear of sort of imposter syndrome was somewhere before, and the lockdown brought it up more, or do you think it's new?
It's something I've had for quite a long time. I think in my younger days, you'd go from one job to another, you'd do different things, you'd try different things, and it was all part of a learning process. But I then I'm not sure when exactly it set in. I mean, as I say, I've been made redundant 7 times.
Wow.
And I certainly recall 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, it's been around since before then, but certainly 2 or 3 years ago, I had a really serious bout of it. I was teaching people how to use LinkedIn, and I was running workshops and running one-to-one mentoring with people, and I got hired by a national franchise to go up to Birmingham and to deliver a one-day training course to a load of their franchisees from all around the country on how to promote their business on LinkedIn, and also part of it was on Twitter as well. And we'd agreed we put together I put together the sort of PowerPoint presentation and a program for what the training was going to be, and everything was all agreed beforehand. And I remember the morning that I was driving to to Birmingham rather. I think I got about as far as Huntingdon, and I had an overwhelming desire to turn around and go home because I just didn't think I could pull it off. Even though I knew I was confident in my subject, confident in everything, I just felt that there was going to be somebody there that was going to know more about LinkedIn than me. There was going to be somebody there that was going to ask me questions that I didn't know the answers to. And I just didn't want to be put in that position. And I really struggled with that journey there. And, and to be honest, it was only the money that I was being paid for it that made me go ahead with it.
So
And
self-doubt, lots of self-doubt.
oh yeah, yeah. I just thought, even though I knew that I knew my subject, and 9 times out of 10, most people I meet, I know a lot more about LinkedIn than most other people do. And I've written books on it, all sorts of stuff. But I just had so much self-doubt. And actually, it was funny because by about halfway through the morning, I'm standing up there in this lovely training centre, surrounded by these 20 and 30-year-old um, franchisees, and there was me in my 60s, and I just looked around and I thought, I suddenly felt comfortable for the first time, and I thought, this is really quite sort of ironic. There's somebody in their 60s teaching 20 and 30-year-olds how to use social media.
Which is amazing.
And that, you know, I felt better then. But as I say, on the way up, I nearly turned around and went home because it just hit me so hard. You know, you get that feeling quite often, but on that particular occasion, it really was quite severe. But
Yes,
yeah, I used to do a lot of.
sometimes it even come from childhood, like you've been doing something and then being told off, or a teacher didn't acknowledge your work, or sometimes it's like little step, and it keeps repeating, and then gradually you just believe that you're not good enough, that they're not going to want to hear what you have to say, and value yourself, and it could be just a specific event, and then your subconscious mind just keep believing in that.
Yeah.
And I mean, listening to you, I think it's amazing that you're that age you could actually do LinkedIn when a lot of young people didn't even know as much as you do. So on the contrary, you were on a higher level in that sense, but it's how you see it that is the most important way. And so what did you do after you were happy, you carried on, or they like appreciate and liked what you did, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, the training session went really well, and we did some, you know, follow up work and everything else as well. So I mean, that worked out really well. I think. I mean, you said about childhood. I'm an only child, so I've always been used to entertaining myself, to being on my own. When I look back, I didn't realize it at the time, but by today's standards, I was bullied most of the time I was a child. I had a wonderful home life. My mum and dad, unfortunately, my mother died back in 1975. She had when I was 22. She contracted leukemia and died early on. But I had a wonderful home life, lovely, happy home. But my father was a policeman, so I was always picked on at school. From about the age of 9, I started wearing glasses, and so I was called Four Eyes and all the other sorts of things, you know. So by today's standards, I realised that most of my school life I was actually bullied. I mean, at the time, you just got on with it, you know. That was what things were like in those days.
Yeah, subconsciously we get on with it, and we think, okay, we forget about it, but subconsciously our subconscious mind start believing in what's going on, and also the subconscious mind lives in the present time. So, and hearing you sharing this with us is actually not surprising, that you have this worry of people valuing you, or like not feeling valued, and worry that people are not going to like you, because that has been part of your life. So it's sort of reprogramming and changing that actually what's happened to you is helping you, and now you just sort of claim yourself back and take the power back in that sense. And this is what you're doing now when you're starting coaching and helping other people with their businesses, and you're giving them a new leaf of ideas, and you need to I would love you to realize actually you are extremely valuable for those people, and the past, it's almost like having to tell your mind that you need to just literally just, I'm no longer in that year, I'm no longer that little boy who had to get on with it and just let it happen in that sense and just
mm,
ignore it. That now you can just like really say, okay, this is me, Keith, and I am doing amazing work. I'm helping people out there because you do loads of things. You just
mm,
you've always, I mean, to be made redundant 7 times and to bounce back, this in itself is telling listeners how you are. I mean,
mm,
some people are just made redundant now, and they don't know how to get themselves back up, and they feel that it's, they lost everything. I mean, some people,
mm,
their job is their life. It is not just
yeah.
a meaning of living and paying bills. It's that is who they are, and suddenly overnight, suddenly they're made redundant, and suddenly they have all this free time, and it is like okay, and it is a question of being valued and being
Mm,
recognize that you are important. And when you made being redundant, just like, well, I'm not important. They don't need me. They either kept somebody else or they just decided they didn't no longer need me. So that idea of fear of being left on the shelf and not being valued, that needs to be turned around. And sometimes you can use affirmation, and you can keep reprogramming your mind, say, I am important. Somebody out there is going to
mm,
want me. I'm going to change that person's life. There's really lots of, it's literally keeping, I believe we attract what we're thinking. And sometimes when we crash down, it's because we need to step back and look at what's going on, and then we go back up even better in that sense.
mm,
But in order to reprogram, you have to keep on telling yourself you can't plan things. So, okay, today is going to be a really good day. I'm going
mm,
to meet people. I'm going. So it's like you're in charge of your life, and you're going to sort of plan things and say, okay, today I'm going.
mm,
Maybe if I go into the supermarket, maybe I will meet someone. Maybe I'll meet.
mm,
Just putting it out there, instead of putting out there that no one may want you, or you're
mm.
not valuable in that sense. So, but I think it's
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, to have gone through seven made redundant 7 times, that is, and still bouncing back, and still, and you're still working, you're still fine, you're still
yeah.
doing
But
things.
the problem is, I mean, I love helping other people. As you probably gather, I love
Mhm.
helping other people. I love giving other people advice and support. For a number of years, I ran a program that I set up called Launchpad, which was to help people that were unemployed or facing redundancy get their lives back on track. And it was all about helping them refocus, helping them think about what was important to them in their lives, and get a sense of direction. And I had people came to me that that were on the verge of suicide, who I helped them just have a complete rethink on their lives, and look forward, and everything else. But I'm rubbish at doing it to myself. I can help other people, and I can do all sorts of stuff. And I've been doing loads of Zoom calls with
Mhm.
business owners lately, and that really fires me up and gets me really enthusiastic, and everything else. And then these have been in the evening, and then by about 9 o'clock at night, I'm flat, and I'm thinking I'm going to go to bed, because there's nothing else to be up for. I'm really really good at helping other people, at supporting other people, and telling other people how they should go about things. I know what I should be doing. I just don't do it.
That's a sort of self-sabotaging in that way. It's always easier to help somebody else than help ourselves. And this is why, coaching and doing therapy and working on ourselves, it's always better to have somebody else working with.
Mm,
But you could put certain things in place. I know I tell my clients to look in the mirror and to talk to them, to literally say how important they are, how that it's okay to love themselves, to accept themselves the way they are, just to start putting that idea in. And you can also use some affirmations. You can
mm,
write them down. You can say, I am good enough, and somebody is going to find me, and it's going to happen easily. It doesn't even have to happen to have to take so much time. Lots of different sentences like this, but it
Mm.
does, you have to, it's easy to say when you're in a good place, but when you're not in a good place, it's like harder, and you have to sort of pull yourself and really
Yeah.
force yourself to do it. It's like, when it's raining, and do I really want to take my dogs out when it's raining? It's like
Yeah.
pushing
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
You have to sort of do the first step, and then if you do it as a routine, then gradually it goes part of your day-to-day life, or on the way to work, you can even just have that little those sentences in your mind saying,
Mm.
I am important, and people are going to listen to what I'm going to say, and I am going to listen also to myself. Those little things you can find in your timetable, those things. But yes, it does take some time to sort of
Mm.
push yourself first. But if you were
Yeah.
doing those advice at nighttime, as much as you're helping them, it should empower you, and then maybe write a few notes of how you empower them and how it's empowering
Mm.
you, and then read those notes later, so that you're actually still
Mm.
in that energy field, and
Yeah.
that would help you.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I see that, people make some, some lovely comments. They post them online and things like that, which is really, really good for me. But I think, I mean, one other thing is that, I've suffered from depression over past years. Um, and last year, I'd been on antidepressants for about 10 years, gradually sort of increased doses and what have you. And last year, I decided that I wanted to come off those antidepressants. And so I spent 6 months last year gradually reducing the dosage until by about November last year, I came off them completely.
Amazing.
Which I was really, really pleased with. And, I posted that, my main achievement for 2019 was getting off the antidepressants. But of course, then this year we've had such a monumental turmoil. And what I've had difficulty with is obviously the antidepressants kept my sort of mood levels fairly calm. The highs weren't very high, the lows weren't very low. And of course, this year, all of a sudden, I've had to deal with
Yeah,
big
so
highs,
yeah,
very, very low lows, and it's
so
compensating for those and dealing with
yeah.
those. That's been quite difficult.
So that's what's happened also when somebody if people use medication, or it could be drugs or addictive or anything, and once you, those type of things are making you numb in a way, it just starts to like
Mm,
normalize your emotions. So if it's like using alcohol or drugs, or medical drugs, then when you come off it, you're almost no longer used to your own emotions, and
yeah.
and it's like, almost like you have to re-teach yourself that it's okay to be low, and it's okay to be high, and it's okay to
Mm,
experience different emotions, and you can even experience it in
mm,
one day. You can experience loads of different emotion in one day. So I do understand what you're saying, because those medications are controlling those emotions, and is
yeah,
you
yeah.
did it, I mean, you did it in the right way, you slowly reduced it, but suddenly this big blow of pandemic comes in, and then everybody, even
Mm,
anyone, I mean anyone who is even in an extremely good place, would have felt something. This is no emotionally, because that was just a big blow. But so it's adjusting and realizing that it's okay to be down, and it's okay to be on high, and it's okay to be just okay. So it's fine not to be fine in that sense, because you can
yeah.
actually literally cry, and you're entitled to, because that is what we are, human
Mm,
being, and a human being is full of emotion. And I always say emotion is energy in motion, and the energy in the body is supposed to flow nicely, but when we have a blow and a shock like this, automatically it gets blocked in our body, and we're going to release it either screaming or crying or shouting, or completely bursting, completely breaking down. And the thing that we need, that everyone should know, is it's perfectly okay to crash down, but it's having the tools to go back up that's really important. And
yeah, yeah.
dealing with the emotions. And I perfectly understand what having to come off those tablets and suddenly all those emotion, it's like relearning yourself in that sense. And if you've had some bullying in the past, then there will have been also not accepting yourself anyway in the first place. So those medications sort of repressed. They haven't really dealt with actual problem in the first place, where definitely I would say is something in a child that should be just literally reprogrammed in that sense. So, but you've done really well, because you still keep going, you still have lots of plans, you're helping lots of other people. And one of the good things that I've always noticed and I always advise to is, when you're not in a good place, giving is the best advice. It's giving and helping other people. That in itself is one of the best therapy, because you're helping other people, you're supporting other people, and by giving you help, they help you in the same time. You're helping yourself in the same time, and that's what's been happening, because you've been helping lots of people, and they are valuing your work, and they're actually commenting and saying how amazing you are.
So. Yeah, it's actually funny you should say that, because there's been a number of people over the pandemic, over lockdown, where I've been supporting other people that have had mental health issues and who've been struggling for one reason or another. And I think I came up with the phrase, something on the lines of, no matter how dark things might be for you, you can still be the light at someone else's tunnel.
It's true.
Because and I found that, that even when I was feeling really, 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 really low, I can still help somebody else.
It's true. It's true. Definitely. I've written in my book, and my book is called How to Move Forward When the Unthinkable Happen, Love, Light and Leora. But I actually put in my book that it does never to forget that you can actually turn the light on. There's a switch, and you can always turn the light on. And even if you feel like you're in a dark tunnel, at the end there's always a light at the end.
Yeah.
And there's always someone out there that you can always help. There's always worse of you than you can even help, and there's always and that is going to help you. But it's really remembering that it's okay to crash down, and there is that switch that you can actually turn on when you feel ready, and you can turn on. And that is definitely this. Keith, could you tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you, and if they want your advice on where, if you have a website or LinkedIn, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, the easiest thing is I've got various websites and things, but the simplest thing, you'll find me on LinkedIn, you'll find me on Facebook, and you'll find me on Twitter, just as me, Keith Grinsted. And from there, they can find links to all the other things that I'm doing. One of the things I've got is my It's Okay to Be Okay podcast.
Excellent.
Which originally it started out as a book about, how it's okay to be okay. You don't have to constantly live up to other people's expectations of you. So a lot of what we've talked about, I've written, but I just don't follow it myself. But so I've after I was on BBC Breakfast during lockdown, I decided to launch a podcast. So now the podcast is the main thing, and the book that I was going to write, I'm now going to issue as shorter ebooks, because they're more relevant to different topics. So
amazing.
Funnily enough, I mean, yeah, one of the podcasts I did recently was about negative spirals and about how you get into negative downturn. But I've always felt that once you hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go then, and that's
definitely. And I'm really, I just want to thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing this with our listeners. I hope that you, just by listening to you, you've helped already lots of our listeners, knowing that whatever you are and however you feel, and as low as you feel, there's always a way to get back up, and usually when we get back up, we even feel stronger. So thank you very much, Keith. You're listening to Lauren Rosenberg, Fear Buster. Looking forward to next week talking about another fear. Have a lovely week.